In case you haven't joined us before in the past, hi, my name is Daniela. I work as part of Oxford Professional Education, or you would also recognise us as the Oxford College of Marketing, Procurement, Management, and then we also have an apprenticeships branch of our organisation as well. Essentially, what we do is help you guys upskill in terms of professional qualifications, which is exciting stuff. And as part of this upskilling, we offer the OxP AI Exchange, which is hosted by myself and Robin. In case you didn't know who Robin was, she is one of our in-house tutors for some of our AI qualifications, the AI in marketing in particular. And we also have the AI in practitioner that we've recently launched as well. She is an AI expert. So she is the person with all of the know-how. And essentially we will have these sessions every 2 weeks that you guys can hop on for an hour and learn about an AI relevant topic that's literally landed or hit. So on occasion we have regular sessions, and then sometimes we have buzz topics that come round as well. So definitely do follow us on LinkedIn. We do have a newsletter there. We also have a YouTube channel, and we also have these live webinars. So there's always a place of contact to get in touch with us. Otherwise, you happy to take over from here, Robin?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And we've had quite a few of those extra sessions recently because we had ChatGPT 5 agentic system that we kind of went through. We went through the EI Digital Act that updated and changed. So I think it's really interesting actually that we're able to catch on and like really talk about what's going on right now, as well as like the normal AI kind of stuff that's kind of evergreen and isn't going to go away. So yeah, I really enjoyed the last session, especially talking about AI avatars in interviews and how they work. So that was really fun. But today is something that is really important, and we're looking at something that is no longer optional anymore. So how AI is actually changing the way our organizations operate, make decisions, and compete is changing. But the way that we actually use that and actually move things forward, we're lagging behind. There is a huge AI skills gap, and a lot of it comes down to misunderstanding of the technology, not understanding where we're at in AI kind of involvement with our organization. So in light of a lot of studies that have recently come out, this is something that came up again and again when it came to kind of understanding and looking at AI use within an organization. We often talk about AI from a marketing point of view or an operational speed kind of tool, but actually, when we look at AI integration and use overall from an organizational perspective, we're not where we need to be. This technology is super speeding, it is moving forward, it is changing things, and it has great opportunity, but organizations are really, really lagging behind when it comes to use. So McKinsey has just released a very wonderful study, which I'll make sure gets sent out to you and is available in the portal where all this information is. And it's all about the state of AI use. And one thing becomes incredibly clear when you go through that article. And it's the fact that this AI wave that we talk about, that we're riding, it's already been and gone. Yeah, it's now left us on the beach, kind of trying to piece these things together. And because it is reshaping how things are run, realistically, already more than 2/3 of organizations say they're now using AI in some capacity. Now, this isn't in our flashy, futuristic kind of things, like how we see these big kind of stories. It's being quietly built into everyday operations, customer service routing, fraud detection, recommendations, all these kind of things. And even tools that we just think of as normal, quote unquote, like our Microsoft Office suite, for example, now use AI models in the background. So this integration, this use of AI, it's already here. The shift has already happened, and we're still talking about it as though it is novel and new, and we need to move past that now. So the real question that we're facing is not, should we use AI? It's, are we leading our teams through this in a way that creates value? Are we using AI in a way that protects our business? Are we using AI to achieve the thing that AI allows us to achieve? It's not should we, it's how are we? And we're actually struggling to move into that. Organizations love it. We all want to have AI, like AI, like we all want to say that we are powered by that. But what we are seeing time and time again is this failure to actually move to that, to actually have AI integrated into systems. And this is where we're starting to struggle. So usage is rising. So individuals within organizations are using it, but meaningful impact is actually truly inconsistent. Yeah. And it's not because the technology isn't there. You must have seen that AI is integrally like always giving us more within this technology, but skills, leadership clarity, and confidence are lagging. And that is causing organizations to fail to uptake this technology. So that's the theme of today. That's what I'm going to focus on today. And what we're going to look at is how AI can actually unlock something called superagency. So this is where we are supporting individuals within organizations, teams, our clients that we work with to operate faster, smarter, and more creatively with the support of these tools. But superagency doesn't just appear because we install a model or we give people access to a chatbot or a platform. It shows up when leaders understand the technology well enough to guide, to ask better questions, and to set direction. That is the difference. And we are also holding ourselves back if we look at an individual point of view, not just an organizational one. So this session is designed to help us do exactly that. So we're going to look at the skills gap. We're going to look at how to build confidence in this, and also how we can use a 90-day kind of set time to start to utilize AI much better than we actually are. We all want it. We all want to use more of it. We all know it can do these great things, but actually taking the time, the effort, the skills to implement it, we are all lagging behind in the way that this technology is much more capable than we're allowing it to be. So some of the important findings that were in that kind of state of AI kind of article is the first thing that is that AI usage is high. Yeah. Almost 9 out of 10 organizations are using AI somewhere. Yes, somewhere in their business. But the catch is here is that when you look at that and that AI use, only a much smaller group is actually seeing a bottom line impact if we want to reduce it to that. So adoption is happening, but value is not guaranteed, yeah, at all in those instances. And secondly, McKinsey found that organizations and individuals getting real results aren't just the ones that are installing tools. Yeah, it's not the ones that have just given everybody access to ChatGPT, or it's not everybody that says, oh, you should use cloud for this. Yeah. It's actually organizations that are redesigning workflows and making AI this leadership kind of priority. Yet only 1/5 of companies have actually changed how work gets done. So most organizations at the moment are just adding AI on top of old processes and then wondering why nothing moves and nothing changes realistically, even though they have pulled in this wonderful piece of technology. And the kind of final thing that was a really key insight for me was that while advanced tools like AI agents are taking off, they are being used more and more, the practices required to scale them safely and effectively are lagging behind. So many organizations admit that they're not following kind of core scaling principles. And some are already seeing the consequences, and you will see this in your LinkedIn feed. Consequences in accuracy, in privacy, and intellectual property risk. So all of this, to me, reinforces the same message, and that is that AI is not the differentiator anymore. Leadership competence is, and individual competence is. Those that succeed, the organizations that succeed, will be the ones who understand the landscape, set the right direction, and builds the skills that turn early adoption into real advantage. This is the gap that we are seeing everywhere, and why we are starting to get this wishy-washy kind of rhetoric around, is AI actually useful? Why have we put all of this money into AI and we're not seeing X, Y, and Z as a result? And that is because we're missing this. We're missing the fact that we're not putting AI in a way that allows it to work efficiently. We're not redesigning things to allow it to thrive. And we're also lacking this clarity and confidence in its actual use. So, I need to sneeze. Oh, bless me. So, what barriers have you seen? What barriers do you have yourself when it comes to AI adoption and AI actual use, not just logging into ChatGPT? Let me know in the chat. And so I can kind of see what everybody here has kind of experienced. But it's not our resistance to this technology. So what I mean by that is we are not fearful, realistically, of this anymore. We know it's great. But the gaps in capability and organizational and leadership hesitancy are causing the problem. So McKinsey and Deloitte highlight the same pattern in these great studies that have just recently come out. And adoption doesn't stall because we are afraid of the technology. It can, but this isn't what's happening. It's stalling because there's lack of confidence in setting the right direction, the expectations, or the ability to create the conditions for AI to be used effectively. That's huge. Has anyone experienced that, where they're working within an organization where AI is just not really being taken seriously enough to give it the chance it needs? Nearly half of leaders within these studies say that their top barrier, their biggest issue, is expertise, missing expertise. So they're not actually equipped to guide teams to make better decisions about where AI actually fits. And then on the flip side of that, employees and individuals say that they would use AI more if they were given proper training and support. So there's a gap here. There's a gap between confidence, so organizational confidence, leadership confidence, and employee readiness. That's the tension point that we're seeing, and we're not moving past it. We're stuck. We're stuck in this kind of back and forth. A horrendous statistic is that only 1 in 5 employees say that they receive structured AI training. Yet almost 2/3 of those employees, like as a whole, believe that developing AI skills will advance their careers. The enthusiasm is there. We all want more, yeah? But what's missing within organizations, within brands, within kind of workflows is the investment, the structure, and clarity to turn that enthusiasm into capability. So interestingly as well, 94% of organizations that were in this huge study that has just come out say that leadership capability is critical for navigating disruption, but only 3% believe that their leaders within their organization are actually prepared for today's challenges. That's a really, really low number when it comes to leadership clarity. And nearly half of those leaders on the other side say they feel overwhelmed and unsure about what to prioritize. So what does this tell us? As individuals, we are ready for AI, but from a leadership or organizational point of view, we feel unprepared. And when leadership or organization hesitates, that uncertainty cascades throughout the entire organization. There's also a really big issue with a perception gap. And this is between leaders, employees, clients, consumers. And this is where we're, as individuals, we are using it. We know how to use it in our own life, but we are struggling to understand how to use it to improve our work life. And we're underestimating how important and how integral this process is. So it's really interesting because if I'd have done this talk, this exact same talk, potentially 6-8 months ago, the internal barriers that we will be seeing would be fear or resistance. But we're not seeing that anymore. What we're seeing is gaps in leadership expertise, a lack of structured training, and old skill sets that haven't yet caught up with the pace of technology. So I assume that you'll each recognize some version of this, either with people that you talk to, organizations that you work within, your employment situation. So if you do have experience of one barrier that you've seen, let me know in the chat, because there are no wrong answers here, but it's all sometimes good to know that we're experiencing the same things, right? So let's surface kind of what's actually happening and realistically start to look at whether the tech is the problem, which it doesn't seem to be anymore, compared to the environment we're actually creating around it. Because what we want, what AI technology allows us to do is to have this, what is called super agency. So this is where we're moving from human capability to human plus AI. That is what this is, yeah? So when we talk about super agency, we're talking about this new level of human capability. I am very, very lucky that I understand this technology. I have been able to implement it into so many glorious things that support me to do more and to be better within my work. What we also need to recognize here, though, is it's not about replacing people. It never is. And you should know that if you've been to any of my sessions before. AI is not a replacement for experience or expertise. It is a tool that helps you to finish and get through the grunt work, because that is where AI loves to be. Analyzing, finding patterns, understanding information. And it's about amplifying what we can do when AI starts to take on the heavy lifting. So it's about working smarter, faster, those kind of things, more creatively, because AI is starting to handle the parts of work that used to drain time, attention, and cognitive effort. So we're moving from manual tools to power tools with the same person. That's one way that you can think about it, with the same level of skill. But we're now operating at a level of efficiency that simply wasn't possible before. And super agency shows up in several ways. The first one is speed. So what used to take hours or days can now happen in minutes. research, data analysis, forecasting, brainstorming, summaries, all of these things that what we love AI for. And we suddenly have the information that we need, the support that we need, the research we need without a bottleneck. The second is decision support. So AI can surface patterns, options, risks, scenarios. And these may be things that we would not have time to explore manually. So we don't become less important, we become better informed, which is key. We then get better customer insights because AI can process huge volumes of data to highlight behavior, need, opportunities that help teams build more relevant products and experiences. And a fourth way, we can look at automation. So all the repetitive, low-value tasks that used to fill diaries, exhaust teams, can now be handled reliably by AI systems. And that frees people up to focus on higher impact, more meaningful kind of work. And finally, we have creativity. So when cognitive load is lower, people actually have space to think bigger, challenge assumptions, and explore new solutions. So when we talk about superagency, I want you to think about it as not a technical feature, even though it is supported by the integration of this tech. It's actually a human capability which becomes unlocked through the smart use of technology. And it only happens in organizations where we create those conditions to flourish. Yeah, Lilia, one of the barriers to using external AI tools in organizations is business confidentiality, while internal AI tools remain undeveloped. I totally agree. A lot of people are fearful and aren't building in-house, and a lot of those kind of access platforms that we have, it is a fear when it comes to putting in kind of internal information. So you may be thinking, Robin, this sounds wonderful. It's like, of course I want this. Of course we want to be doing this. But what does that actually look like? Does anyone have an idea of what that would look like for them? You can write it in the chat while I talk through this. But if I give you a real example, so this is where superagency becomes incredibly clear and what it can look like inside an organization. So if we look at a mid-sized retail company who is struggling with the familiar set of problems, weekly planning cycles are slow, merchandising teams are drowning in spreadsheets and manual reports, customer service desk is running several days behind because of triage, categorization, all these kind of things. You know, the things that we naturally see stereotypically within a mid-sized retail company. At this point, realistically, this organization is actually not ready to hire more people. They didn't want another major system overhaul. But what they did have was the willingness and the right conditions to potentially test AI in a very practical, high friction areas of that workflow that were causing those issues, those familiar set of problems. So they started small. The first thing that they did was they automated weekly reporting packs that used to take analysts half a day to compile. So the AI model started to pull this data into merged spreadsheets, generated summaries, and highlighted exceptions automatically. So the planning cycle suddenly ran 30% faster with the change of a one kind of task. Next, the merchandising teams use AI to evaluate category performance, spot pricing patterns, identify low performing SKUs, and so instead here of spending hours digging for insights, we got instant direction. So we could make quicker, more confident decisions of what to move forward with, what to remove, what to change. All of a sudden, we had direction. Yeah. And then as another kind of solution that was AI assisted, they introduced a support desk triage that was AI powered. Incoming tickets were classified, summarized, and routed automatically. So within weeks, the backlog dropped by 3 full days. They were back on time in their projection. None of that required new headcount, didn't add more people. What they did was they unlocked more capacity from the people they already had. Yeah, that's what super agency looks like. And this is the real point. The level of improvement didn't come from the tools. Yeah, it didn't come from the tools alone. It came from those who were willing to step in, identify the right use cases, and create conditions for AI to genuinely support the team. That's what super agency looks like in action. It is not replacing people. It is instead reducing the work that slows humans down so we can deliver more value with less friction. And it sounds like a beautiful, jargony kind of word, right? Super agency. We're striving for super agency. But what you're actually striving for is utilizing this technology that we suddenly have access to take over the things that are holding you back. Admin, summary, research, analysis, so that you can take those insights, iterate, and make differences within your organization. That is what super agency actually is. Yeah. Even though I do think it sounds like a budget superhero. Super agency. So one of the big issues that we have is leadership blind spots. So we know that most teams want to use AI. Teams, individuals always want to use AI. We now know that it is not fear or resistance, which it was maybe 8 months ago, that is holding back. It's uncertainty. They're not sure what's allowed, what's safe, expectations, and that uncertainty always traces back to leadership hesitancy. That is the leadership blind spot. Leaders believe they're ready. They believe they've communicated clearly, but on the ground, teams receive mixed signals. One manager says it's encouraged, another says it's risky, a third says nothing at all. There's nothing for any higher up. So we get this inconsistency, the hesitation, and a complete stalling of momentum. And it also happens to individuals and smaller companies. We believe we're using AI to its potential by utilizing a bit of AI. And we believe that we have ticked off everything that this technology has to offer. But the data actually really makes it clear. So only 13% of AI integrations, which can be as simple within those reports as adding AI, such as ChatGPT, into your tech stack, only 13% of those integrations achieve meaningful impact from AI integration. So that means that 87% of us and organizations and individuals are spending money and time and energy on AI without results. That is huge. Again, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, 12 months ago, if we had looked at this data, everyone would be saying that AI was 100% making things better. But as we've calmed down off that AI hype, what we're actually seeing is we're not using it in the way that it should be utilized. And the core issue, again, is not technology. It's misalignment on some level. We also tend to underestimate how quickly we can adopt or adapt these things and overestimate how much foundational work has already been done. So many of us assume, and organizations assume, that because we've purchased the tool, we're moving forward. And that is not right. That is not actually a full understanding of what is actually going on. This blind spot has real consequences. So companies often focus on acquiring AI rather than aligning AI. So this causes a lot of problems with bottlenecks, it slows projects down, and on the other side of that, people rush ahead without solid data governance, for example, which can then lead to inconsistent insights, compliance risks, and unreliable outputs. Even seasoned individuals, when it comes to tech or seasoned leadership, fall into a pattern of over-validating, over-controlling, and unintentionally blocking the experimentation that AI adoption actually requires. So the biggest takeaway is actually that the biggest problem is not AI itself. It's this belief that technology alone creates transformation. Real progress happens when we build conviction, unify direction, adapt governments, and champion a different type of model where human judgment and AI coexist and reinforce one another. Yeah. So just as a quick kind of poll, would you feel confident in leading AI adoption within a team, within your own organization, within your own workflow? Are we 100% confident that we will be able to do that in this kind of session today? It's totally okay, like whatever your answer would be, because realistically, there is this mismatch everywhere at the moment about what this technology can actually do and how we are bringing it into these organizations and the organizations that we work in. So the easiest way that you can kind of discover where you are in this glorious AI adoption journey, so you can start bridging those gaps, is something called the AI maturity model. So this is, well, it gives us a clear sequence for building capacity and capability, really. So it helps us to prioritize investments, set realistic expectations, and this is one of my favorite sentences ever, avoid random acts of AI because they're not really very purposeful. Each stage represents a distinct shift in culture, skills, and operating kind of rhythm. So we're going to go through each stages and what happens at each stage, and then how do you move on? I'm going to give you the exact ways that you move on to the next level, because we want to end here. We want to get to this kind of integration level. So the first is awareness. So what does that look like? It's probably where a lot of us generally are. It's we know AI is on the agenda. We're talking about it. We're having a go, and it's not quite yet in the operating kind of rhythm. So we're asking questions like, where does AI fit for us? What are other people doing? What are other organizations doing at this point? We're curious individuals, and our teams are curious if we're coming at this from a leadership level. There's pockets of exploration. These kind of small teams are changing their own individual kind of workflow, but there's no shared direction or defined priority. So this causes an issue. This causes an issue with data quality, governance, and workflows across departments. AI feels incredibly promising at this point, but it is abstract. So what you often see here is you may have had an occasional kind of demo or vendor demo. You're sharing kind of articles, you're researching, but you're not committed to a structured approach. So there's key risks here, yeah? There's overhyping possibilities without understanding, unrealistic expectations about what AI can truly deliver, ignoring foundational issues in your data, and also allowing enthusiasm to turn into just kind of noise. We just carry on riding the hype train, and we don't really move past there. And the danger here is mistaking curiosity for capability. Yeah. So you may be like, well, okay, yeah, I'm here, but how do I move on? How do we move to the next section? The quickest thing you can do is conduct a quick organizational baseline. So have a look at the health of your data, look at the health of your processes, and have a quick kind of thought into the AI readiness across your teams. Look at the gaps and the opportunities that baseline audit actually gives you. I want you to then, if you're moving into this kind of section here, is to choose 2 to 3 meaningful business problems to test. These should be real operational challenges with measurable outcomes, not hypothetical use cases. Workflow automation, knowledge search, things that are tangible. Also bring people together. So if multiple individuals are going to be needing to kind of give their say when it comes to this integration, bring them together. Break down those silos early, and helps you to align kind of what you're doing. At this point, to move along here, we also need to set expectations about what good actually looks like, what data can and can't be used, and how output should actually be evaluated. And we need to communicate openly. We're in experimentation here. So to do that ourselves, our individuals, our clients, the organization, we need to feel supported, safe, and understand what is expected, really. And leadership clarity is aiming to remove that hesitation. So let's say we've done that. We're now moving in to that next kind of section. So this is where we have hit active stage. So if we want to give this a sentence, we could use from curiosity to coordinated action. Yeah. So what does it look like? So we're stopped just nattering about it. Yeah, we're not just kind of talking about it, and we're stopping this isolation. So we're starting to do things together as an individual within our own kind of work bubble. And we start to run early use goals with defined goals, guardrails, and support. And we start learning what works and what doesn't work and what needs fixing realistically, because AI is no longer a conversation, it is an action. So we have high value pilots, cross-functional support. We're starting to test AI tools with clear metrics and feedback cycles. Compliance starts to come in here, and those early wins build confidence. We're starting to see the impact here. Some of the risks that you may experience is running too many pilots without coordination, experimenting in low value or low impact areas, treating early tests as final solutions, misinterpreting AI outputs without proper validation. So how do we move on? So we move on from here by prioritizing high-performing pilots. So we're identifying which tests deliver real value. We're starting to build repeatable workflows. Yeah. So we're starting to document our processes, our prompts, our tools. We're starting to strengthen governance. So we're defining data boundaries, model usage, and all these kind of policies. We're starting to formalize roles, and we're starting to share our results, because momentum increases when we start to see the practical benefits. I would say, realistically, 80 to 85% of the organizations that you work with, for, or are creating, we're currently sat at a mixture of these two at the moment. You can disagree with me. If you have experience that is different, please let me know. But all of the kind of data that's coming out at the moment is, even though we have had access to this glorious tool for quite a while now, we are still stuck in this very early level of maturity when it comes to this technology. We then want to move on again. So we've started to see the benefit, and we started to put AI as part of our daily rhythm. We're interacting with it all the time. So AI is now starting to be integrated in everyday work across multiple kind of functions. Teams rely on AI. We rely on AI as individuals to streamline these routine tasks, prepare information, surface insights, and support decisions. Workflows are consistently supported by AI. They are documented and supported by training. We now have measurable value in our performance metrics. So we're moving AI from being a pilot to being, this is how we work. This is how I work. This is how I achieve this. Yeah, that is how AI supports us. We're building in that super agency at this point here. So some of the common activities you will see are things like automated meeting notes, AI-supported planning, reporting, and forecasting, intelligent triage, workflow automation, insight generation inside weekly operational reviews, those kind of things. And teams begin to start feeling this tangible relief. How great would it be that we suddenly have this time, this energy that we're getting back because we're letting this technology become part of our daily organizational or workflow or individual rhythm? So some of the risks that we do see here all the time are things like over automation that reduces human judgment or we remove context. We have uneven adoption across departments or teams potentially here. We have a dependency on tools without sufficient oversight, and there's also governance gaps potentially here. So how do we get out of this? How do we move forward again? So we need to start using AI to support workforce capacity models, demand planning, budget scenarios, risk analysis. So we're starting to link outputs directly to organizational strategy, not just to complete work. Yeah. We need to build role-based competency-aligned training pathways. So what does AI fluency or understanding or closing that skill gap look like for managers, us as individuals, our clients, operational teams, those kind of things? So how are we guiding development and performance management here? We need to start turning our effective workflows into repeatable playbooks, templates, process standards. We're going to reduce the variability here. We're coming out of that experimentation and we're just embedding these processes in. So this is where we kind of want to go to next, this operational kind of process. We then move into the strategic stage. So this is where AI is actively shaping organizational strategy and decision making. So this is a core input now. AI is a core input into how organizations make decisions, allocate resources, and plan for the future. And we're using AI not just to improve workflows, but to test scenarios, forecast outcomes, evaluate strategic options. So AI-generated insights feed into planning cycles and governance discussion. Yeah. So we're shifting from operational support, because we know AI can do that, yeah, to strategic guidance. So we start getting AI-supported prioritization of initiatives, dynamic playbooks, predictive forecasting. But some of the risks that we see here are potential ethical blind spots in predictions, prioritization, or segmentation, those kind of things, and strategic decisions being influenced by flawed, biased, or outdated inputs. Because, of course, AI is only as good as the data that we feed it. So how do we get out? How do we move on again? So we integrate data across the entire organizational life cycle. That's where we need to move to. We need to break down silos, connect customer, operational, financial, and product data all together. We need to build closed loop systems that learn from everyday touch point and feed insights back into strategy. We need to align incentives with AI-enabled behaviors. We need to implement continuous model monitoring and also strengthen governance and transparency. And then we reach the top. We reach the top of the maturity model. So this is where we look at something called transformational stage. So this is where AI becomes an organizational capability. AI is fully embedded. Nothing operates in a silo. We have a unified intelligence layer that connects data, insights, and learning across every part of the business. AI becomes part of our organizational, our individual, our use case identity, and part of our competitive advantage. So realistically, we now don't need to move forward. Yeah, so at the moment, this is where the AI maturity model ends. But we now have to sustain. So how do we maintain this transformational maturity? A lot of the things that we do here are things like regular ethics reviews, transparent decision frameworks, ongoing training, clear organizational commitments, and also a culture that balances this automation with human oversight. So now we're starting to treat AI as a living system. We're entering true superagency and not just a static achievement. So you may be like, whoa, that's a lot. That's a lot for me to go away and like kind of motor through. And it really is. But we're already behind in where we could be because of this like resistance that we have seen with the AI use. But over 90 days, you can actually make a real difference as individuals and as organizations. So this is where we can look at accelerating AI capability with no chaos, no confusion, no overwhelm. The first thing you need to do is assess your organization's current skills and gaps, or your individual skills and gaps. Before you go away after this session and bring in a new tool, a template, I need you to have a clear picture of where you are today. What are you already experimenting with? Where do the confidence gaps exist for you? What processes break the moment that you introduce AI? Doesn't need to be a long project. This doesn't. Just a light kind of check, which gives you the clarity to prioritize moving forward. So then after that, I want you to choose 2 to 3 high value workflows. This is critical because we're not starting with a mass change. We're not starting with the dozens of ideas. We're starting with 2 or 3 workflows that truly matter to your organization's performance. Think about those really repetitive tasks, those research bottlenecks, those reporting kind of burdens, decision processes that slow you down. And by focusing narrowly, we get those quick wins and we build confidence overall. And then step 3, so we need to train yourself or teams for specific job-specific scenarios for AI use. So how does AI fit into their role tomorrow morning kind of thing? And then what you need to do is build a simple internal AI toolkit. Every organization, every individual, every kind of person using AI needs a small curated set of prompts, workflows, and approved tools. Take away the guesswork, increase the consistency, and reduce risk. And then we also need to kind of start creating governance without blocking innovation. Governance is like your seatbelt. It's not a stop sign, which I read the other day, which is quite a good sentence. We need to have clear data boundaries, approved tools, human in the loop checks, and simple guidance. When governance is kind of lightweight, people adopt at speed. So this kind of 90-day plan will help you kind of move from scattered experimentation to structured capability. It's that kind of, we're building momentum. So that is the end of today's kind of session. But I'd like you to let us know how this goes for you. I would love for you to kind of join the Slack channel. We have a free Slack channel that is hosted by the college, where I post what's coming up, articles, changes in regulation, and that is totally free to join. But does anybody have any questions for me today?
Hello.
Wow.
Do feel free to pop bits in the chat. I'm just dropping in a few links.
Just sure I answered everybody from earlier. I did.
go.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that the data that we're seeing now compared to 8 months ago, it's not the technology that's scary anymore. It's the misunderstanding, the skills gap that's stopping us from actually using this technology in the best way, whatever role we have within an organization. So I'm hoping to change that one webinar at a time.
Yes. But it is interesting to see how, for example, in our organization, we have someone who's designated as like the specialist in-house. So that's where we get all of our updates from, and they're having to relay that information and everything that they're finding out and communicating that to us to try and get us to be at the same par of them as them when they're a person who might be a bit more technically agile than myself. But that's why I'm here. I'm learning with you as well as you guys. But yeah, if you do have any further questions, you can always reach out to us via email at our inquiries inbox. There is also an opportunity to reach out to us via our inquiries form as well. In terms of what we can offer in our colleges, we have the AI practitioner qualification. So you can do short courses on particular topics. For example, there's AI in banking, education, marketing. I'm also trying to think of, there is also the marketing college as well. So we do have a module in the level 6 diploma that you can do as an accredited award. So you'd gain a certificate as well that could be recognized by employers internationally. And essentially a way to keep you one step ahead of everything that's going on in the market at the moment. The technology is new. As Robin's mentioned many times over, that tends to be, one of the sell points, I guess. So it's, if you're looking to be that person who's in the know, knows how to use the technology within your field, whether that be, lovely to see you, Stephanie. Goodbye. I hope you join us for the next one. They're definitely comprehensive enough to get you caught up. And then there's always that idea of being recognized by an employer or being able to have something to essentially demonstrate as that you have those skills and that knowledge and know-how. So I definitely recommend that you get in touch with us via email. We can always have that conversation with myself or a member of our team. But otherwise, you can always interact with us as well outside of these sessions. We have a little community, which is always really cute and nice. Where you can go follow Robin or myself on LinkedIn, or you can go and have a look at our newsletter as well. There is a Slack channel that is tremendously useful. Robin engages with you guys there. Otherwise, yeah, we catch each other every 2 weeks. Or you'll see that there's a buzz topic that's going around either through one of our colleges or through Robin's page or myself, if there's something that's rolled around really quick. I'm trying to think do you know what the next session will be about, Robin?
Yeah, so the next one is cloud. So we're going to be comparing Anthropic's LLM compared to ChatGPT, because obviously that is a LLM that is designed to be more security safe in its answers.
Interesting.
So how is that different? And then look at the agentic system within cloud compared to Perplexity and Chat. So that's going to be really good. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how different that AI platform is compared to others. But we still ask it the same kind of questions, right? We're like, can you help me to do this? So yeah, be interesting to go through that one next time.
I have a question off of the back of the webinar we had just now. If you had like one thing that someone could implement in an organization like immediately, that you would be like, this is a thing to do if you can. Do you have anything? What would be like number one suggestion?
My number one suggestion for an organization to have the understanding of where to go next and what is currently going on is get AI to summarize all of your sales calls and your customer calls and your offboarding calls. Get it to create a summary every week. And in that, you will know exactly what pain points people are struggling with and why they're coming to you, why they are leaving you if they have offboarding or they kind of complete and leave. But also in all of your calls, you will know the exact themes that are relevant right now to your customers. And that gives you amazing data to then create marketing, to create a potential new way that you talk about your product. You sell courses, to change the name of your course because people are looking for something different now. Like, do you know what I mean? Like those kind of things.
I'm liking
That
this
is the
idea.
biggest biggest value add I have seen again and again within organizations. And it takes a very low level piece of tech, Otter AI, something like that, that you can just send to all the meetings. It pulls it all through to you, and it automatically sends summaries into your inbox. Incredibly powerful.
Okay,
You can move much quicker. You know, from that day, you know why people are coming to you, what their biggest problem is right now, and why they are potentially leaving you if you do have a call or an end process. That is the biggest value add that you can literally do with a $20 piece of software with no real tech knowledge. You just set up the calendar to follow you wherever your meetings are going, and then you have that data summarized, and it's incredibly powerful.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. What was the name? Simon? Otter? Was it Otter?
Yeah, Otter AI is really, really good. But you've got Fireflies, you've got Read.ai, any meeting summarizer. But Otter, I like Otter because it also does like sentiment and things like that.
Was it Firefly as well?
Fireflies, yeah.
There you go. Or Fireflies, excuse me.
It's okay. I think they'll be able to find it with that.
There we go. That's cool.
But yeah, that's one of the biggest value adds that takes less than 10 minutes to set up. And all of a sudden you have sentiment analysis directly in your inbox without you having to go and find the data, analyze the data, and then implement the data.
Definitely. Wow. That's insane, isn't it? I didn't know that was a thing that existed. So it's definitely a handy trick to have up one sleeve. Especially with how quickly everything's changing, you always have to be, being one step ahead.
Well, I can give you a really interesting kind of thing that I saw with a client of mine. So they have always called themselves one thing. So say they always called themselves a consultant, and that is in all of their copy. So I said, okay, well, you're obviously something is mismatching somewhere. Yeah, you think you're this. People aren't coming to you for the right thing, or they're not discovering you for the right thing. Like, so he sent out and did like a thing where he was like, come and have a 15 minutes with me, and I'm going to tell you what I do, and you tell me what you would search for. And he then summarized the whatever, like 30 different calls that he had, and he then realized that no one searches for consultant to find what he did.
He does. Okay.
And he could then change his SEO, the way he named his services, and all of a sudden he was being found for the right thing.
Yeah.
But it's just I think having the ability to analyze the data you capture in calls is really powerful for loads of reasons within an organization.
100%. 100%. But yes, I will get back to you on whether I manage to implement that or not. We'll see.
That's amazing.
If I do, I'll be giving you the pros and the cons, the whole shebang. The whole shebang. Absolutely. It'll be like I discovered a phone for the first time.
You got your first iPhone.
Otherwise, I'm happy to wrap up for today. It was great that everyone could join us. I hope to see you around on any of our other touch points. Do shout us out if you're more than happy with the session. It's always interesting to see what you guys took away from it. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next 2 weeks. Bye, Angelica. Bye, Lilia. Have an amazing day. Yes, bye, Robin.